I became a dissident because of my personal experience within the HIV industry. I had the experience of testing antibody positive in 1997, and I went on for 6 years taking AZT and Nevirapine, two toxic drugs that a lot of people would say life-saving drugs. I went on taking those two drugs and believing that I had a lethal virus, and accepted or expected to die of AIDS, what the mainstream orthodox HIV theorists call AIDS. I expected to die within a few years after that. I left my friends, I left my family, I left everyone, and I went away to another place, and there I lived 2 years, and I learned a lot of things, actually a lot of theories within the HIV industry. But 6 years later, after moving from the place I had ran off to, I had transferred everything over, my medical records and everything, and I had the new experience of testing Indeterminate, something that I was never educated or told by my doctors. And when I was told this, that I was negative or indeterminate, after 6 years of taking the toxic drug AZT, and the toxic drug actually failed NIH drug Nevirapine, I was told that I was indeterminate and that I had to retest again for the lethal virus that I was told that I had 6 years prior to that. It was a diagnostic. It was a diagnosis. And when you're handed over a deck of cards and told to play with them, and told that, you know, you're going to die, accept it and move on, and you do that, you go through your twilight zone or your AIDS zone of toxic emotions, and those emotions alone can make you sick, can make you depressed, psychologically impaired. You know, you think that so many things when you're given a diagnosis that you're going to die, you think that it's over. So everything in your life and everything around you that surrounds you is simply over. Well, 6 years later, when I moved and they told me that I was indeterminate, I was told I had to retest and that I was going to be let go from the funding, from the medical aspect of it all. And I was also told that I would get no type of treatment or care, that I would have to stop it all immediately. Well, then I started asking questions and got no answers. And then I did an exploration on the internet and started going to the CDC website, the NIH, and prominent dissident websites. And I asked questions. And I was unhappy. I was angry. I was upset. And when I found out that the test results were not even specific or unique to HIV, that sent me for a loop. And the stigma of an HIV positive person is severe, but the stigma of an HIV dissident is even worse. You're an outcast. You're called so many things when you're an HIV dissident, and for the most part, most of us dissidents that have went through the testing protocol and have been labeled an HIV positive person, for the most part, we didn't ask for this. It was just handed over to us. And this is the mindset amongst just average, everyday people. The terminology within the HIV industry is so complex that everything is interchangeable and anything is everything. Basically, with HIV and AIDS, you can call it whatever you want, and it will be okay. But when you start to deconstruct the terminology that's being used, then you break open an entire sea of inconsistencies. I actually went to the CDC's own website, which I was looking up for indeterminate results, and the information there was not only double standard, but it was shocking. I couldn't believe my eyes when I read it, and I would imagine by now they've put an error ratum up and changed the whole verbatim for it. But when I read it at the time, it said that if a patient is indeterminate or negative, and they're homosexual, then their test is considered positive. But if the patient is indeterminate and heterosexual, their test result is considered negative. So even though I had an indeterminate test, and even though they told me that they were going to let me go and not give me any more funding or treat me as a patient, the CDC says that I'm positive. So that was a double standard there for me, and it just lashed out at me because I'm gay. It just said to me that, you know, because you're gay, we're going to say this to you, and you know, you're a disease, and no matter if you had 5,000 HIV negative tests done, we're still going to think or know that you're positive. Here it is 25 years later, 2008, and it says in the ELISA disclaimer, at present, there is no recognized standard. No recognized standard, okay? That means this test hasn't been verified against HIV. So at present, in 2008, there is no recognized standard for establishing the presence or absence of HIV-1 antibody and HIV-2 antibody in human blood. It doesn't say HIV, it says HIV antibody. Okay, so basically what it's telling you is there's no such thing as an antibody for HIV. There's no gold standard for the test. This is the original test that I tested on in 1997. It picked up 3 proteins that are claimed to be for HIV, and then in my indeterminate results in 2004, when I was told that I was negative, these proteins were absent. So it just sends someone on a series of questions that you'll never get answers for. I went to the headquarters for basically the entire AIDS organizations in that county, and I got no answers from anyone. So I didn't ask to become an HIV dissident. I wasn't just sitting at home one day thinking, okay, well, I'm just going to go piss people off and decide that I'm just going to go and blast everybody and tell everybody AIDS is a conspiracy theory. I am not in this as a career. No one is paying me to make these videos and sit and talk to people and counsel people and question the HIV test. Question the drugs. The drugs will not save your life. There's no proof that they'll save your life. I would like to say thanks to the Perth group and Peter Duesberg. I really appreciate both of you. You guys have done great for us. I would also like to say thanks for all the other HIV/AIDS dissidents that are out there, that are questioning, that are struggling, that are putting up the fight. Let's put an end to this.